right? Welcome everybody to week 6 live session here in CE 155, facility layout and design. Week 6 already, can you believe it? Chef Suzanne and I welcome you to another fine and final session here in CE 155, 1808. And how fast the time has gone. Isn't that incredible? How did it go by fast for everybody? Yeah, thumbs up. How was everybody's learning? Did anybody pick anything up in the past 6 weeks? Anything? Thumbs up? Yeah, that's awesome. This course went by extremely quickly. Chef Suzanne and I were speaking a moment ago, and we have a lot of fantastic students in this course, and I know for Chef Suzanne, what she was mentioning, it's really made a pleasure for her grading these assignments. You had some great comments that I want to share here in just a moment. They were absolutely fantastic. And we've got 5 weeks under our belt. We've got 1 to go. This week, it looks like a relatively smooth challenge. If you did well on the first 5 weeks, you're going to do quite well on this week. Before we delve into this too much further, you're going to hear me say this about 19 times. 19 times tonight. Your assignment this week is due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget, Sunday, September the 23rd, your assignment is due. We are accepting no late assignments after that. Is that correct, Chef Suzanne? Yeah.
That is absolutely correct. Matter of fact, I do believe some have already turned it in because we have lots of folks that are, look, we got Waver.
Yeah, she's all proud down there.
Yeah, there's already some folks turning in week 6 so they can be done with it. So.
Yeah. Aquarian, you're on your way to becoming a chef if you're kicking out assignments already, because that's the way we roll, right? But don't forget, ladies and gents, week 6 is due no later than Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 Central Standard Time, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure it's good. How did week 5 go for everybody out there? Anybody have any comments about it? Yeah, Charlotte, what about you? What did you think about week 5? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, how did week 5 go for you?
It was great. I enjoyed it.
What, do you have a takeaway from it?
Just everything from this whole 6 weeks has just been awesome. I mean, I've really learned a whole lot from everything, from the flow of each part of the restaurant to, I've worked in a lot of restaurants, so really learning that broken down the way you guys have done it's taught me a lot.
The way you kind of think, the way we kind of think
Yes.
about things, right?
Exactly.
April, what about you? I want to hear about what you think about week 5.
It was okay. Things go differently in my head than on the paper.
Yeah. You know what? I was sharing. What's that?
From where the plating goes to the hamburgers to the lettuce to this to that.
Yeah.
I messed up.
There's a lot of thought that goes into the development of a restaurant. It's not, we just don't jump in our semi and drive up to the restaurant supply store and load it up and then come back and set things up. It takes months and sometimes years to actually develop a good proper kitchen. I was sharing with another class last night about the ideas that we have in our heads, and I'm sure each and every one of you can equate to this, but when we create ideas in our head, they're one thing, but when we let them out and we share with other people, and when we put them on paper, everything changes, right? And we realize where we've done right and where we've done wrong. And Chef Suzanne, I was talking to some of the students last night, and I want everybody to really understand this in CE 155, but I don't know too many great chefs. I've written probably 1,000 menus. I've never written a good menu by myself, right? Because I get the idea in my head, but then when I walk around and I talk to servers, staff members, and everybody else, those ideas morph. And don't they, Chef Suzanne?
Absolutely. And not only is it a team effort to do that.
Mhm.
It's also an evolution. I've also never gotten a menu right the first time. I mean, it's several variations where you think you got it right, and then you look back and go, I got like 8 chicken dishes. I got to redo this. You just, it's an evolution, and that's part of why I like this week 5 assignment so much. Because the workflow, like April was just saying, you think you got it, and you start putting it all on there, and then unfortunately I come in with my little marker, and I'm like, when I'm drawing the lines and crossing over, and you may have not seen it, but that's part of the fun thing about this particular assignment. And in reality, so now you know that when you get ready to start your business, you'll do that. You'll draw it out and you'll go, okay, let's see, my burger's going to go here, 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 here. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should move these 2 pieces of equipment. And so that's part of what, make those mistakes now on paper, right? So that when you're doing it for real, on paper again, you'll be able to not make those mistakes. You'll catch them here and you'll remember for later.
Yep. Absolutely. Those are great comments. I appreciate that, because you know what? Putting them down on paper, sharing it with other people. Everybody from Thomas Keller to David Chang to Auguste Escoffier, to all the great chefs out there that have ever existed and that are existing, they all share and collaborate with one another. So, and also the relationships, the relationships that you guys have developed through your discussion boards here in CE 155, I highly recommend that you guys exchange some emails and numbers and that kind of stuff, and stay in contact with one another, please. I still, after 37 years in this industry, I still talk to people from every single one of those years. And look at Chef Suzanne, she's the same way. And those are the people that are going to help you build your career and help you develop along the way. So the people that are on this screen, the people that are in this class, the people that are going to be in your next class are the ones those are your peers whom, as you grow in this industry, they're going to grow with you. So maintain those relationships. Chef Suzanne?
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I am still friends with a lot. And this was, even before the internet was, or Facebook and all that, but now I've found all sorts of people I went to school with, and some that I never lost contact with. We had to talk by phone, so we were, but now Facebook. And
was that like a phone with a cord?
It may have been. At the very least, I know my original cell phone had an antenna. So. Had an antenna. But yes, absolutely. You're going to grow together with these folks, and you're going to network, and you're going to see their successes, their failures, and you'll do all of that together. And it's I wouldn't give up that for anything. That was one of the best parts of school, was the connections, the friendships.
Absolutely. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I am old in this business now. After as many years as I've been in it, I still get calls from people that say, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, this is what's going on. What do you think? Right? And so we still collaborate with one another. And we all realize that none of us know everything yet. And as long as you maintain an open-minded attitude in this industry, you are going to succeed. So every single person in this class, please exchange email information, exchange numbers, stay in contact with each other. Just like Chef Suzanne was saying, shoot yourself a message, or shoot them messages on Facebook. They are invaluable. And I'll tell you a real quick story. I did a bunch of apprentices through the American Culinary Federation. It's an apprenticeship program. And one of them was just a wonderful young man. Started working for me as a dishwasher. By the time he completed the apprenticeship program, he became a sous chef. He excelled in everything that he did. Well, we parted ways because I went to another resort and he went off to another resort. And I took a position in Trinidad and Tobago as the executive chef at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Worked there for several years. When I came back from working in Trinidad and Tobago at the Port of Spain, I called him up and I said, hey, what's going on? And he said, I need help, man. Will you come be my executive sous chef for me? And I said, sure. So I actually ended up going to work for him. And, that's the way it rolls in this business. We have to help each other out. So definitely. Chef Suzanne, what kind of feedback do you have from week 6 or week 5 in CE 155?
I actually thought, in general, they looked really good. Some of the biggest issues that I think I saw were folks that probably needed to make changes after their week 4 and then hadn't gotten to it yet. So then they started doing week 5 and then went, oh, wait a minute, I need to put a cooler here. And so I could see the difference between where they were and where they ended up having to be for week 5. And so they knew that they had to make those changes and did it on the go. And so and that layout tool isn't exactly the most user friendly sometimes.
Mhm.
So I could even see where somebody tried to like move something and it's kind of twisted, but they gave it their best. So, but yeah, so I saw some really good stuff.
I want to ask you the $1 million question though. $1 million. How about the hand sinks?
Great.
Really?
They worked it with the hand sinks, yes, because that is one thing that I think we impressed enough with over that hand sinks and trash cans, hand sinks and trash cans. So lots of matter of fact, I had somebody that I think they tried to move the trash can and it disappeared, so they didn't have trash cans. So they created a little cylinder that kind of looked like a soup can. And it looked like, because I was trying to figure out what's this little soup can all over this person's layout. I was like, what is that? I went,
Right.
I think that's a trash can because their trash can little icon just disappeared.
Give that person extra credit for making it happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Soup cans all over these soup cans.
So great job, everybody. Those are some great comments. Thank you very much, Chef Suzanne. Yeah. Hey, David, how did week 5 work out for you? I was kind of interested because I know that you have a kind of a different food truck concept, and I was interested to see what you thought about week 5 with the flow.
I was happy with it. I wanted to make my flow because it's a food truck. I try to make it work in a clockwise manner, so that way you're not tripping over anybody. So basically, you go to the refrigerator, you go to your prep, and then you have the heating elements around. So then you come back and you come to your POS, and then you have your soda machine right there. So basically, you're working in a circle.
I like that.
So that's what I try to do.
That's a good mentality. Yeah, that's you know what, I really appreciate that because you have to have a good starting point and a good starting method to develop from there. And a lot of times people will just start putting equipment in certain places just because it looks good, and it doesn't always work out that way. So
the problem that I did run into was because the food truck layout is so small, trying to get my numbers shrunk to fit inside the so that's right. And then like you shrink it so much, but then like if you put it on, so say I put my number 1 on the prep station. So if I wanted to make my number 1 smaller, when I try to click on it, it keeps clicking the prep table, so I couldn't. So what I have to do is I have to move the whole prep table out, then have to do it and then move it back.
So I think we're going to talk about the course survey here in just a moment. Maybe you want to put on there like in all seriousness, but a food truck friendly layout, and maybe they'll think about that. But thank you everybody for your comments regarding week 5. That is some great information. Did I mention that your assignments this week are due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do not accept any late submissions on week 6 here in CE 155. Chef Suzanne will put a return to sender on that bad boy, and we don't want anybody getting rejected. So certainly jump on it now. This week's assignment, we're going to dive into it now. But before we do, let's talk about the end of course survey and what it means. We ask that all of you out there be very honest with your feedback in a very constructive manner. We don't need to hear about my hair or anything like that. But we really want to get some good constructive feedback on our courses. We utilize that information to help us grow and help us improve. I know there's a lot of great things that we do, And I'm sure there's some things that we can continue to improve upon. And, David just brought up an issue about, hey, trying to lay out a food truck with those numbers. That's a great thing to put in the survey. And guess what you get? 5% extra on top of your grade. 5, 5, 5. Little Caesars, right? 5, 5, and 5. Extra 5% on top of your grade for taking the end of course survey. It's very, very important. So please take a moment following this class to jump onto that end of course survey. You get an extra 5% on top of your grade. Now, quickly before we move forward, constructive criticism. Each and every one of you out there are going to work long and hard days. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to put out a plate of food, and you're going to hear something negative about it. You ever been in those shoes, Chef Suzanne? Yeah. I don't care where you're at, what you do, or who you work with. At some point in time, you're going to get some type of feedback from somebody. You always have to remember a couple of things. Number one, you're in the hospitality business, and you are here to serve people, make people happy, regardless of what it takes. Well, there's always a cutoff, somewhere. Regardless of what it takes. But you have to be very open-minded to that criticism, right? That criticism may hurt. It may make you feel bad, but it is going to help you grow in the end. The criticism that you do hear oftentimes in industry is not the most polite, well said, or well put together. I've seen people break down in tears before criticizing them. You know what? You've got to learn to accept it, right? Regardless of what it is. And, and just as a chef, when I hear something, when I get criticized about something, I start asking others around me to make sure that, hey, am I seeing this wrong? Could it be, could this really be, right? So be open-minded, network, communicate, learn to accept that criticism, learn to grow from it. It's going to help you out. Is that pretty good, Chef Suzanne?
I love that. I think we are in an industry that has a lot of, what do they call them, like couch experts, where folks really think they kind of know, what, and so that's where you get things like Yelp. So if you have a hard time taking criticism with anything, Yelp hurts.
Yeah. Oh man.
It hurts, y'all. It stings. Those reviews and things, and I like to look at the pictures, but I don't like to read the reviews because my heart aches for some people sometimes because they're just brutal. They can be brutal, but unfortunately, it kind of comes with the territory. Everyone eats, so many people think they're an expert on food. So being able to take that criticism is super important.
Yeah. And then, you know what, when I first graduated from culinary school way back, many years ago, when I graduated, I knew everything about the business and you couldn't tell me anything, and it stymied my growth for a little bit. You know what, because you graduate, you've got a degree, that's when you need to be the most open-minded, right? It took me a long, long time to realize, and I had to get knocked in the head a couple of times. We did a major brunch, a Mother's Day brunch, and I created this Mommy's Vodka Bar for Mother's Day brunch, and it was a big thing. We did about 750 covers for this brunch. The following week, I get called into the general manager's office because of a letter that he received about a woman that wrote about a fly on the buffet line, right? So you put all this effort into it, you succeed, you feed 749 people extremely happy, and one person writes a Yelp review about a fly, right? And that just sinks your boat. So there's this thing that we have in industry, and when we have a customer that comes in that is unsatisfied, whether it be a fly, an overcooked steak, a dirty piece of silverware, we have to wow the guest, right? When we wow the guest, we take that negative situation and we turn it into a very positive, happy situation. And so you really have to master that skill as a chef, because you will be crossing the river at one point in time or another. right, ladies and gents, moving on to week 5, due Sunday, September 23rd at 11:59 Central Standard Time. This is a really cool assignment this week. We're going to be utilizing the information that we have learned over the last 5 weeks in this course, because we're in week 6. So we're going to utilize the first 5 weeks. And so we're going to go back and we're going to talk for the next 2 or 3 minutes about some of the things that we've done in this course over the past 5 weeks. We all remember week 1, right? Yeah. Everybody? We did equipment list and station setup, right? So we pulled a couple of menu items off our menu from 185. We put them into the equipment list, or into the components and the stations and all that other type of good stuff. Remember that as you're doing this exercise this week. Then week 2, we talked about our food business location, right? We talked about demographics. We talked about traffic. We talked about visibility. We talked about all these great things. We talked about whether it's a good idea to get a restaurant that had closed down already, whether we should build our own restaurant, whether our restaurant could be tucked away. We talked about different leases. We talked about different common spaces. We talked about build outs. We talked about a lot of things during that week. And then week 3, we dove into front of the house design, FOH design. We talked about the location of our entrance, our hostess stand, our service stations. We talked about POS systems. We talked about garbage cans, right? We talked about all these great things during week 3. Remember that for this week's assignment. Week 4, we got into kitchen layout. Does everybody remember that? Kitchen layout, right? Where does this go? Where does that go? Where does the dish area go? Where's the walk-in go? Remember the mentality. We talked about utilization of footsteps. We talked about how expensive it is to move around kitchen equipment. We talked about the cost of hood systems. We talked about the cost of ovens, right? There's a tremendous expense that goes into developing a restaurant, and it must be thought out thoroughly. Week 5, last week, Chef Suzanne was just mentioning some great things that you guys did. We talked about flow and labor needs in the kitchen and how vitally important it was. And a couple of you mentioned how much thought process is required to go in there to properly develop it. So there's a lot of information. There's a lot of information that goes into that thought process. So moving on to the meat and potatoes this week, like we say in the Midwest. Did I say that right, Chef Suzanne?
Sounds good to me. I'm all about meat and potatoes. I'm not going to turn it down. I mean,
I've been to Kansas once. They said
I'm okay with any of those things, really.
Right? Don't they say that in Kansas all the time, though? Meat, potatoes, and some ketchup.
I don't
Right?
think I've ever been to Kansas.
Yeah, that's where Dorothy's from. All right. Anyway, yeah, Wizard of Oz. Okay, so we're going to talk. The first thing that we're going to do this week, you're going to have to write 1 to 2 sentence answers for some questions that are listed on your assignment page. The first one is you're going to have to list out 3 things that are going to make your business flow more efficiently, right? And what we're looking for in this is, can you widen entrances? Can you relocate hostess stations? Can you move service stations around? Can you change POS systems? Is it the bar in the right area? Does the plumbing need to be moved? Are the restrooms, do they stink up the dining room? These are things that we want to hear about. So you're going to go back, you're going to take a look at your layout to see what can help you more efficiently. So you need to do a 1 to 2 sentence answer to that. Next thing, you never really want to be in this situation, but you have to learn about this. Imagine if your restaurant was to open up and your sales were 50% less than what you anticipated. What you gonna do? Who are you gonna call, right? So you put yourself into a very, very difficult scenario. And those of us that are in industry, we have to react, right? We can't fly from the situation. We have to stand there and we have to work it out. So with your facility layout and design, what types of things are you going to change, right? Are you going to condense your dining room, right? Are you only going to open up one service station, right? So you can have one server working the entire dining room versus having 3 servers work the dining room because the dining room is so big, right? Are you going to have a server that takes over as hostess, server, and bartender during those slow times? Are you going to do the same thing in the kitchen, right? Are you going to reevaluate your equipment needs when you slow down? Right? Are you going to reevaluate your menu to accommodate your slow business so you carry less mise en place? Right? What are some things that you are going to do if your business drops down by 50%? You have to prepare for the worst case scenario in the restaurant business. Is that right, Chef Suzanne?
Absolutely. And something to think about with these questions, with all 4 of these questions, they're really pertaining to this course. So some things you may come up with an answer like, oh, well, I could hire or get rid of some cooks. Well, that's true. You absolutely could do that. But we're looking not for things that deal with your actual written menu or your staff. We're looking more for things that we've done in here. So equipment, your facility, utilities, that sort of thing. Things that pertain to this course when you answer these questions.
Right, exactly. So, for example, with the kitchen, are you only gonna operate, one oven? Maybe remove an oven and just operate one oven in order to save a little bit on your gas bill. Things of that nature. So think about it from a facility layout and design aspect. What are you going to do if your business drops down by 50%? The next question, hey, if and only if you're lucky enough that your sales are double what you projected, what layout and design changes are you going to make in order to accommodate that higher sales volume? It's a problem that you will witness at some point in time in your career. Are you going to have to change your table sizes? Right? Are you going to have to purchase additional, more efficient kitchen equipment? Right? Are you going to have to expand your dish area? Can your restrooms accommodate the double in sales volumes? Right? So what are you going to do with all that trash that you're going to be generating now? All right, do you have enough trash cans to accommodate that? So all these little details need to go into your 1 to 2 sentence answer about what you're going to do if your sales end up being double. And then finally, what do you see as being the biggest obstacle in executing your menu in your current design? Right? What can you do to fix this? David, a few moments ago, was talking about his methodology behind the layout of his food truck, right? Are you going to be able to execute your menu effectively with the kitchen equipment that you have and the way that you have it laid out, right? Do you have enough saute burners to accommodate all of your saute items? Is your grill large enough to accommodate all of your grill items, right? If you're a bakery, do you have enough convection ovens, conventional ovens? Do you have enough deck ovens to accommodate what you have written on your menu? So these things, once again, need to be answered in detail, 1 to 2 sentence answers. We also need to talk about something else that's really critical when it comes to this type of information, and it's called SWOT, right? SWOT is something a lot of us in the hotel industry focus on, and those of us that are multi-unit operators focus on. And SWOT, S-W-O-T, is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And your restaurant should have a SWAT team. And I know that it's not somebody running around with weapons and tactical and armor and weapons and all that kind of stuff. We're not here to cause violence, right? SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And once you move on to other courses, you really need to sit down and analyze all this information. What are your strengths, right, in your restaurant? I'm a great chef. I've got a great personality. I have a really strong staff, but is that enough, right? Your weaknesses, my dining room doesn't facilitate enough. My kitchen equipment's a little bit older. Things of that nature. Opportunities. Can I be generating revenues through other sources? Can I be doing backdoor business such as catering? Can I be offering cooking classes, right? Can I be doing happy hours? Can I enhance my revenues in some fashion? And then threats. Threats are a constant concern in the restaurant industry, and we're not talking about people walking in with weapons, right? Hey, what are they building down the street, right? What's that new tax law going in, right? Oh my God, there's been a change in the liquor law. Oh no, hey, the health department, right? Threats, we have to take all these things into consideration. I highly recommend that you guys assemble a team in your restaurant of 2 or 3 people that are just focused on SWOT items. It's going to save you a lot down the road, and it could potentially save you a lot of money. Other things that you need to think about too with this assignment, we talked about operational procedures and how critical they are to the success of the flow in your restaurant. I know this is facility layout and design. Operational procedures will not work with the flow, right? The flow has to work with your operational procedures. So once you get into industry, you have to remember everybody has to have a particular assignment and a particular duty in order for your flow to work effectively within your facility. Your recipes too play a huge part in this whole thing as well. If your recipes are not prepared correctly as far as the instructions, does everybody remember in CA 102 those things called narratives? Does everybody remember those? Yeah? Did anybody like them? No? Guess what? When it comes to creating your own restaurant, those narratives are going to play a huge part in your success because you're going to learn how to communicate what you have just prepared in writing on paper so somebody else can follow it. So those narratives are now going to come into play, especially with David doing his food truck down there, right? With those narratives, I think in CA 102, David, right, you had to learn how to explain all your foods. You had to learn how to explain your steps. Hey, unless you want to stay in your kitchen 24/7, you better learn how to do it, right? And you want to make sure in this industry, we focus on holding people accountable. We cannot hold anybody accountable unless we give them proper instruction, right? Hey, here's the recipe. This is how you do it. You are now accountable for it, right? But you can't just sit there and talk to some guy and say, hey, dude, this is how you do it, and then leave. Yeah, it ain't going to work out. So it's real important. I want to take a look at our class page here quickly to make sure that we're all on the same page this week, to make sure that we are coordinated. And so taking a look at week 6, I mentioned at the beginning of the class, the end of course survey. Make sure that you take it. It's an extra 5% on your grade. We really enjoy the feedback. It really helps us out tremendously. I don't know if anybody notices these red letters right up here, right underneath week 6. Note that all assignments are due Sunday of this week at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. We do not accept late submissions this week. End of course. Review research material in preparation for the final. Highly recommended. That information is really going to help you answer the questions that we're going to talk about here in just a moment. Week 6 live session, Thursday, September 20th at 7:30 p.m. Thank you all for being here. Archive, make sure you watch it. And then our assignment right down there at the bottom. Our assignment this week is pretty much what I just read verbatim. That's pretty interesting. Using the information that you've done over the last 5 weeks in this course, you're going to answer 4 simple questions with 1 to 2 sentence answers. don't kill Chef Suzanne by giving her a 360-page documentary regarding the change of your restaurant. It might do health concerns with her, and we don't want that, right? We want to take care of Chef Suzanne. So you're going to name 3 things that make your business, that can help your business flow more efficiently. That could be organizing space differently, to buying different pieces of equipment. We talked a moment ago, hey, you know what? I did a dish station. I had triple sinks in there, but you know what? Maybe if I put a dish machine in there, it'll help things flow better. Hey, I have reach-ins, but you know what? Maybe if I built a walk-in, you know, that would help me with additional storage. I could buy in bulk, and that would reduce my food cost and my food purchasing. Talking about, hey, you got to be prepared. If your restaurant opens up and your sales are 50% less than what they were, than what you anticipated, hey, you really got to jump and react quickly to that type of scenario. Hey, you know what? Can I condense tables in my dining room? Hey, you know what? Is my entrance in the right area? Hey, do my servers have to go too far to the dining room? What can you do to start shedding space, saving yourself a few bucks and making things flow more efficiently? Imagine sales are double. What a beautiful thing to have happen, huh? Right? Do I have enough equipment? Do I need bigger equipment? Do I need more efficient equipment? Right? Do I need a POS system in my dining room now? Hey, do I need enough space in my bar for 2 bartenders? Right? Hey, do I need enough space for 2 hostesses? Right? Do I need a POS system at my hostess stand? Right? So you got to think about all these things that'll make it a little bit more efficiently. And then finally, what is the biggest obstacle in executing your menu? And that's a really critical thing. Before you can open up an operation, you have to have an idea of the menu that you're going to be preparing, right? Do you have enough practical prep space in the back to prepare the dishes that you want to prepare, right? Hey, if I need to expand my hotline, do I have enough hood system, right? Do I need more, right? Do I need a Swiss cooker back there? Do I need a steam kettle, right? These are all things that you have to take into consideration. So you need to be very honest with yourself as you're answering these questions this week. And once again, at least 1 full sentence, 1 to 2 sentences is very good for your answers this week. Chef Suzanne, what am I forgetting to add?
Nothing that I can think of other than, like I said, remember this class when you're answering your questions, things we did in here. Like I said, you can probably come up with lots of other things that deal with labor and employees and menus that could also answer these same questions. But for this assignment, this class is what your answers are going to be for.
Right. So, and just to piggyback on what Chef Suzanne is talking about, if, you know, where it says, you know, if your sales drop by 50%, your answer is not to buy a banner and put it on the front of the house, right? Your answer is not to run coupons. Your answer is not to do 2-for-1s, which I hate because that says you're going belly up, right? If for the question that says, hey, my numbers have doubled and I'm extremely busy, my sales volume is twice what I thought it was, the answer is not to hire more staff, right? The answer is not to start taking reservations. The answer is not to, you know, create a wait list. The answer might be, hey, to create a foyer so you can have a waiting area for your guest. That might be appropriate because this is facility layout and design. Name 3 things to make your business flow more efficiently. An answer is not to buy or not to hire faster cooks, right? The answer is not Speedy Gonzalez. The answer is perhaps, hey, maybe I need to widen the aisles on my hotline, right? Maybe my kitchen, maybe my equipment is spread too far out and I need to condense it down a little bit. Those are appropriate answers, right? Do we have any questions regarding this week's assignment? Anyone at all? No? Quiet house. This has been an awesome class. It's been a wonderful 6 weeks. I've really enjoyed it. Like I was saying at the very, very beginning, make sure that you remain in contact with all of your fellow students out there. And those are relationships that are going to carry you forward in this industry. Highly recommended. Remember some of the key things that we learned in this class, right? We talked a lot about collaboration. We talked a lot about planning, right? We talked a lot about developing procedures, right? We talked a lot about thinking things through, right? Those are a lot of things that we learned in this class, and those are things that you need to carry forward with you into industry, because those are some of the things that we're going to help you catapult to the top, and that's what we want to see as instructors. So, Chef Suzanne, what do you have?
Actually, I sent you a link, and I would do it, but I don't know how. Do you know how to play a video from, like if I sent you a YouTube link to play
Sure.
for everybody? I sent it to you in a private message here in the chat box.
Okay.
It goes along with what we were talking back at the beginning. It's like 3.5 minutes, I think it is. And it's all about WOW service. And it is probably one of my favorite little videos about customer service. And so if you can I don't know how to get it to play. I've tried.
Here we go. It's on its way.
If you go to pause it, it's not showing up.
How's that?
Yes.
What's the deal with the pickle?
Can you turn it up a little?
How's that?
My name is Bob Farrell, and I've been very fortunate to work a lifetime of something I love doing, serving customers. For me, it was ice cream parlors. For you, maybe it's retail, healthcare, finance, etc. Whatever we do, remember, our business is not what we sell, it's who we serve. You and I are in the people business. We take care of people for a living. Hopefully, they'll be happier than when they came in. At least that's what we try for. One of the best things that ever happened to me was to get a letter from a disappointed customer. Dear Mr. Farrell, I've been coming to your restaurant ever since you opened. I really love the place. Love your ice cream. I love the fun. I love your hamburgers. They're the best. I love your pickles. They are the best pickle in Seattle. I always ask for an extra pickle. They always give me one. Today, Mr. Farrell, I came in, had my usual, ask for an extra pickle from the young waitress. Well, I don't know where she got the idea, but she said, well, I'll have to sell you a side of pickles for 75 cents. That's the way you're going to run your restaurant, Mr. Farrell. I'm not coming back. Well, I got that letter, and from an entrepreneur who was just starting on his second store. That hurt. I wrote him a letter. I said, please, we still give pickles away. Don't you worry about it. Please come back. Gave him a coupon. But what happened is, I thank him to this day. The war cry of our company became, give them the pickle. Take care of the customer. No matter what happens in our business and we hear something going on, somebody says, what should we do? Give them the pickle. I talk to companies all over the world. No matter where I go, I always find that successful companies and successful employees have mastered the same 4 things when it comes to taking care of customers. The first thing they do is give away pickles. They make people happy. In other words, they've made serving others their #1 priority. I spoke to a bunch of garbage men. They brought me in to speak on customer service. I gave a talk, they gave me a big hand, they loved it, And after my talk, the guy comes up, he said, Mr. Farrell, I love your story about the pickle. I said, well, thank you. He said, we give pickles away all summer. I'm thinking garbage truck, pickles. This guy's got it screwed up. I said, what do you mean you give pickles away? He says, we start lawnmowers. I said, what? We start lawnmowers. What do you mean? He said, well, my son and I, we drive around, he helps me in the summertime, and we see somebody up on their lawn cranking away, we stop the truck, go up there, and we start the lawnmower for them. We can start any lawnmower ever made. I says, you got it. That's the pickle. What's your pickle? What is that extra or special thing you do to make people happy? That's your pickle. Maybe it's walking the customer to the item they're looking for instead of just pointing. Maybe it's a handwritten thank you on every order shipped out to the customer. Maybe instead of just delivering their food, patients get a menu so they can order what they want when they want it. The trick is to find out what the customer wants. Make sure they get it. That's the pickle.
Absolutely. That's an awesome video. Thank you, Chef Suzanne. Yeah.
I just love that. And when you were talking earlier about the wow, I just was like, oh, give him the pickle. I gotta find that video.
Yeah, yeah. We had a customer that came in, and he was spending about $100,000 on a banquet, and we had him in the banquet room, and we're all giving him the dog and the pony show, and we're out there and all this other kind of stuff. And he ordered coffee, and then he ordered a donut, and you know, the server brought the donut over and put it down, and put down a bill for $5 for the donut in front of him. And the guy got up and started to leave. And he said, you know what? He said, I'm going to spend $100,000 in this place, and you're going to charge me $5 for a donut. He said, I'll take my business elsewhere. And, you know, so that's, I'm kind of on the pickle side over there, but I do more donuts than pickles. But I've always made it an extra to go the extra mile in the industry. We have a saying in all the kitchens I've ever run, we never run out of anything. If we do, we run out and we get it, right? Because regardless of what the customer wants, you get it because you are in the customer service industry, and that's the way it rolls. I've had customers that come in on a busy Saturday night with a screaming 2-year-old that just wants a bowl of pasta tossed with Parmesan cheese. You know what? We're gonna make it, right? And we're gonna make it the best we can because we are there to serve people at the end of the day because we have good flow, right? And so we're able to do it properly, right? So anything else to add, Chef Suzanne?
I don't think so. I just, like I said, I just wanted to show that because I know a lot of people say the customer is always right. And I can honestly say the customer is not always right, but it's okay for the customer to be wrong. You just move on. Don't get hung up on the customer's always right, because they're not. But don't get hung up on the fact that they're right or wrong. Just move on. Fix the problem, no matter right or wrong.
Yeah. And you guys are going to learn something else kind of funny. And I don't know if this really has too much to do with anything, but customers often will go after servers with challenges, and they will be fairly open-mouthed with a server or a busboy about problems that they're having. But when that white coat shows up at their table, all of a sudden their tone of voice changes, right? They can be very different when they're speaking to a chef versus a server. So my recommendation to all of you out there, knowing that you will go through it at some point in time, is number one, listen. Number two, just take into consideration what the guest is saying. And before you do anything else, worry about making the guest happy, right? You know, I'm so disappointed my steak is overcooked. This is the 3rd time I've been here, right? Hey, you know what? Let me buy you a meal the next time you come back, right? And we're going to take great care of you. I'm going to go back. I'm going to cook the steak myself right now to make sure that it's done perfectly, right? I know that when I sent that steak out, it was cooked perfectly the first time. They may be in a bad mood or whatever the case is. But if I can get them to come back one more time and blow them away, and now that I've taken the opportunity, I can't tell you how many times I've had customers that have come in that have been upset, and once we get to know each other, we become friends, right? And they become clients, and they're calling me on the phone asking for bouillabaisse on a Saturday night or cioppino on Friday because they know me now. That's called wowing the customer, right? Building your business. And that's how we do it. Any other comments, ladies and gents? Right? Everyone, thank you very much for an awesome 6 weeks. Stay in contact. Chef Suzanne and I are here. You know, you're probably going to run into us at some point in time down the road, somewhere here in Escoffier land. We are always willing to answer questions or help you out or point you in a direction. So if you're in your next course, certainly talk to your instructor and your evaluator. But if you have additional questions or anything else, certainly feel free to talk to us. We're here to help you out. So, ladies and gents, I bid you farewell and have a great evening. Thanks, everybody.